Hey everybody, welcome back to the DANCNG SOBR podcast, and I want to thank you so much for giving me your time. I want to thank, of course, Espacio 1839 for allowing us to do the podcast here inside of this beautiful space. Don't forget to visit espacio1839.com or come and visit Espacio in person at 1839 East 1st Street in Boyle Heights. The DANCNG SOBR podcast is listener supported, so if you'd like to send us something, please send it to Venmo at DANCNG SOBR. That's at DANCNG SOBR, spelled just like the podcast is spelled. So that's Venmo at DANCNG SOBR. Any amount of support helps. Thank you. This week our guest traveled all the way from Long Beach on the Blue Line. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Valerie J. Bauer. Hey everybody, welcome back to the DANCNG SOBR podcast. And today we have a guest from the city of Long Beach.
Yep.
La señorita Valerie J. Bauer.
Thank
Did
you
I
for
pronounce
having
that
me.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the J for, if you don't mind?
Jocelyn. That's my middle name.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I started putting that. I mean, I use it all the time, but I especially use that in my work or, crediting myself because I don't know. I think that to me felt like another.
Yeah.
Like the artist me. I don't know. That's me. That's my name. But it's like Valerie Bauer without the J. It just felt like, I don't know, like child me. I don't know. It's like a different mindset for me.
A lot of actors do that too. Like Michael J. Fox, actually, I think he just I think he just threw in the J there. Yeah. I mean, other actors. But anyways.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're a photographer.
Yep.
And videographer.
Kind of.
Filmmaker.
I'll say photographer first, for sure. Like I've dabbled in some video stuff, but I do not want to disrespect any video people.
No.
Like what I do, it's like I'm just playing around with video and experimenting. So
you're in a lot of ways it's the same way that I like to say that, but you're doing it.
Well, thank you. I know it's like always,
Yeah.
You always got to downplay what you're doing, I guess.
Well, the imposter syndrome is real sometimes. I mean, it's real, and it's hard to. I talk about this all the time, but it's hard to be out there with these people that have their MFAs and their BFAs.
Yeah, and then you don't want to
try to claim the same thing, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
But the product, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a long time, I was saying I take photos, which is code for hey, just say you're a photographer. I mean, I guess also because you throw a rock and there's a million photographers out there, and there's so many talented people. I don't want to take away from anybody, but I don't know. It's just definitely imposter syndrome. Yeah. As long as you've been doing it too, it's you can't get it out.
Yeah.
Stop.
Well, let's rewind. I mean, I've only met you once, and it was very brief. We just introduced ourselves at a show that you had once.
So that was the Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It was just a brief hi, and then you showed us a display, and that was it. So I don't know that much about you. So along with everybody listening, I hope we get to learn more about you. And here we like to start with where were you born and where you grew up and stories about your family. So let's go back.
Okay, so I am definitely a Harbor area, South Bay girl. Grew up in Wilmington, born in Harbor City. Just definitely upbringing was all in like those areas. Both my parents are Filipino. My dad is we'll call him like mestizo, which is like basically our term in Philippine culture for like anybody that's mixed.
Yeah.
So like he's,
we use the same term in Mexico.
Yeah. So he's you would consider him like a mestizo Filipino. He's mixed like white and Filipino, but he's very dark skinned and like looks very Hispanic. So me and him walk down the street and like people are like speaking to us in Spanish or whatever, and but it's like, no, we're Filipino. But and then growing up in Wilmington too, so it's like on top of all that, like,
what is that? Culturally ambiguous? I get that all the time too. Yeah. People think I'm Middle Eastern or anything like that.
Okay, yeah,
all the time.
I've been getting all kinds of different things since I was a kid. But my mom is Filipino from the Philippines, And so she was born there. My dad was technically born, or he was born in the Philippines, but he grew up here when he was since he was 2 years old. So also grew up in Wilmington. So to me, growing up, I felt like I always had this, it was definitely a Filipino American. I had both, So I had my mom and her side, who's telling me stories of growing up in the Philippines, and then my dad, which is more of an American story, being brown and growing up here, So it was kind of I had for sure both sides, and I'm grateful for both.
And the harbor area is very mixed culturally, right? So it has a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
How was that being young and in elementary and
So growing up in Wilmington, it's very, it's a Mexican neighborhood, predominantly Mexican neighborhood. But there are not only our family, but there were a few other Filipino families that we knew of, or one I went to school with, and but most of the Asian communities that in that area are in Carson or Torrance or Gardena. And I went to schools outside of Wilmington, so I got to meet a lot of kids from different neighborhoods. And it was kind of going to school in Rancho Palos Verdes, in middle school was kind of tough because, me coming from or growing up in Wilmington, it was just night and day, especially with the kids that have money and you just go back home and then they think you live in they call it oh, you live in the ghetto. It's I never saw it that way. I never looked at it like that. And I think a lot of those types of experiences really influence what I wanted to shoot later on in life, kind of thinking back on those moments.
You were bused.
What's that?
You took a bus to school?
Yeah. The public or the school bus, yeah.
And so from elementary all the way to high school?
All the way to high school, I went, different from elementary was San Pedro schools, and then middle school was RPV or Rancho Palos Verdes, and then high school I went to Narbonne, which is in Harbor City. So I was in the magnet program for all of those schools. So I was definitely mixed in with all kinds of different kids from all different backgrounds and everything. But
what was your interest, let's say in middle school? What were you
in middle school? Well,
what years did you go to middle school?
Middle school was late 90s, so that was probably 97, 98, 99, I think.
What were your interests? That's what I asked.
I mean, I don't know. You're just...
I just wonder,
middle school's a blur, but I actually...
Were you, in a hip-hop? Were you in a... skating? Were you...
I don't know. I was not into any... I was not a cool kid, at all. I was just figuring it out. I had my little
Were you a reader, or were you a library kid?
Not a library kid. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. I just had my group of friends that we just... I don't know. We just all hung out, and I clicked with them on... I don't know. We just had a lot of similar interests. I don't even. It's all blur. I'm digging way back, so I'm trying to remember. But
I'm trying to.
Sometimes you block out certain things in your life.
I'm trying to picture So what I like to do is imagine when you were a teenager. Were you a kid that was at the mall a lot, or were you a kid that was at the skate park a lot? And there's difference.
Definitely not the skate park at all. Earlier high school, I guess, I don't know, when I was starting to go to the mall, I remember my oldest brother was he came over because he didn't live with us, but he was you guys don't go to the mall or something? He was just basically saying are you guys now, not cool? Yeah. But
that's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. I like to be in my room a lot, and maybe because my mom didn't really let us go out that much in early high school and stuff. I just kind of got used to being by myself in my room, and she would give me a ton of magazines, and I would just flip through them and just kind of be in my own world. And I think that for sure, like, got me in the zone of, like, just being in, I call it, like, I just sit in my living room in my mind, and I'm just like, I'm cool. I'm just by myself.
Sit and travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, just sit down and then travel.
Yeah, a lot of daydreaming, a lot of that.
I love that.
Yeah.
When you were in high school, you started to take pictures.
Yeah.
Did you do anything before that? Any photo?
No, just I guess a lot of like collaging when you're like.
So there was art, like
yeah, I was really in
stuff.
Yeah, as a kid too, I loved painting, I loved drawing, I loved writing. Like I was always writing how I wanted to be an author. Or, like I wanted to make books. Like I look back at it now.
Yeah, so that was your interest.
Yeah, and so, I guess so. Yeah, and I guess looking back,
who was your writer that you liked?
I don't know. I think one of my things that I wrote, I'm like Beverly Cleary, yeah. It's just like an old like
Ramona the Brave.
Yeah, like I don't even really remember reading those.
Yeah,
too much,
really.
But...
Oh, yeah. See, those are from my years too, and then I went to school in the '80s.
Yeah,
Beverly Cleary
90s.
Way back, Beverly Cleary and Judy Blume and those. Yeah.
I wasn't so much of a reader, but I wanted to write, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Definitely, yeah.
I was always kind of
you had
like
something you wanted to share, and you had
yeah.
thoughts that you wanted to get out, and
yeah. I remember making like little like stories with my friends in elementary and middle school, and then it was not even for like a school project or anything. Like we would just write stories and like put them together. I think my mom still has some of these.
That's cool.
And they're just terrible. I mean, they're just like kid stories. And I do remember asking my parents, like, can you take me to Kinko's because I want to get this bound. I want to get this like.
Already making zines, yeah.
Yeah, I was already making zines, so.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is the process. It doesn't matter what turned out.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you look at them now, you'll see like, oh, I see. I know what I was trying to say.
Exactly.
I know what I was trying to express. That is not, Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, and there was another little like homework thing that my mom saved from middle school, and I think I wrote like, I want to go to USC or UCLA. That's like my dreams, and I want to like study people and travel. It was something along those lines, and I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even know that like I didn't even realize that I had those types of, goals. And it ties into like what
that's so cool,
my interest now. So yeah, whatever you are like as a kid that normally is you deep down inside. Yeah.
So how did you end up like taking it was an
Photo?
elective? Yeah, you just took an elective class?
Yeah, it was, like when you start high school and they're like, okay, you got to take a language and you got to take an art class and you whatever. And I knew that like, even though I liked to draw and paint as a kid, I didn't feel like I was good at it. So I'm like, I don't think I'll connect there, but maybe this photo thing could be cool.
Yeah.
And then I ended up just really loving it. And like my dad gave me his old like I don't know if it was a Minolta, but anyways, an old camera that he had that he'd always used for like family photos and stuff. And I guess like looking back, I was always looking at the family albums, so there's a connection there too.
When you started shooting, what do you think like drew you to like continue to shoot? I mean, of course, it's can't remember, but
later on, so like high school photo felt like strictly that, like just.
So were you in the
walk around and during class and like take videos? That was like one of the benefits of like
were you in the yearbook?
No, not in yearbook.
Just
a straight
art class.
Photo class. Yeah, it was like dark room and shooting in black and white, which was cool. But after high school, I guess I didn't shoot or do anything photo related for like a little bit, life. And then I started picking up the camera again and really just kind of like shooting and like, I don't know, trying to just like take in what, or you know what I mean? Like express myself in some type of way and kind of became a little bit obsessive over it, just like constantly shooting and shooting and shooting everything and anything, and just trying to figure out what I'm doing.
It's clearly like something that happened organic.
Yeah.
I mean, I see that in your images, that it's not something that you were assigned to do. It's not something that you
like
planned.
You have to do it.
Yeah, but it also, like, it comes through as very in the moment, which is something that I strive for too. Like, just try to be there, try to feel whatever's going on and capture it without any like pre-planned stuff. Yeah.
Now it's like for me to be in the moment is actually maybe no camera. Yeah. I think because
it gets
sometimes
harder, right?
Things get kind of like, okay, you do want to be in the moment and document things, but at the same time, you as a person want to experience this firsthand and without a camera. Yeah. So I feel like that's where I kind of have been a little bit lately, but then I get the FOMO of like, oh my God, like I should have been shooting this. Like I just had that conversation with Nate, like about his last show of the tour last week. And I didn't I think maybe I took 1 or 2 photos, and then I really was just there. And then hindsight, like the day after, I'm like, Nate, I should have been photographing the whole thing and like having like that feeling. And then I have to like, go through all that. Like, okay, I was there. It's just
a thin line. But yeah, I mean, I have the same thing too, where sometimes I make the decision before I leave my house, like I'm not going to take a camera and I'm just going to enjoy this. Or I am going to take a camera and I'm only going to take one lens. So I don't go crazy. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that it gets more difficult to be in the moment if the longer you do it. And also in the beginning, I think you might have experienced the same thing because we kind of just fell into it different ways. But in the beginning, it was so easy just to be out and shoot and nobody was looking at you. But now people recognize you and people kind of look and they kind of like flex. And also because of social media, everybody's like ready for a picture.
Yeah.
When I started taking photos, people weren't as like ready to look at you and like pose.
There was a lot of questions like before, like what are you doing? What are you gonna do with this? And like
people don't say anything, they're just like go for
it. Now they're like ready to pose. Yeah. But sometimes I've noticed that when like that's why sometimes I like to step back like and maybe catch a moment where someone isn't posing, because that's such a different feeling than like when they're looking at you and you kind of catch them off guard a little bit, and not in a weird creepy way, but like in a different moment where they're not putting on something for you. Sometimes I like that better.
It's I mean, I love that better. And sometimes it's hard to find that with people when you have the camera on them and they completely present something that they're not. And a lot of times I like to say like, okay, we're done. And then they drop it. And then I snap a couple more.
Yeah, exactly. And then you use that one. Yeah.
Or something.
Which is cool. I'm grateful that people are, even willing to like pose and let you take their photograph.
Yeah.
But.
So immediately after high school, you just kept going?
I guess so. I just was figuring it out and trying to, just constantly shooting, constantly like I think too early.
What are the things that led up to you being like, okay, like I'm fresh out of high school, but I'm gonna do this photography thing?
It was like a couple years of a break between me picking up a camera again and like setting out like intentionally like, okay, I want to do this. I lived in Highland Park for a little bit, and there was a 99-cent store that was nearby, and in the party section, they just had film, like color film, and I was like, oh shit, like oh my God, I would just get all of it, and obviously
they were 99 cents each.
Yes, wow. And being a young person trying to do photo, finding like rolls of film for $1, I don't care how, like what type of, like it was just like there's film here. Yeah. So that I think that kind of the the inexpensive film that I kind of came across, and it was kind of like I would put stuff over it, like, you know,
Hide
like
it,
the,
make sure nobody else gets
yeah,
it.
okay, this is my little stash here. Like that kind of helped me to shoot a lot more. And then from there, I could kind of like figure out like, okay, kind of like you can kind of like direct yourself like, okay, well, maybe I'm wasting film here, but this I kind of like, you know. And then I did I started making zines with like it was just like random like LA photography, street photography, point and shoot, you know, a little bit of everything. But I started making zines, and then I did a Long Beach Zine Fest in 2015 for the first time like ever vending or selling my zines like in person. And because it was in Long Beach, I got a lot of people with good feedback, like, hey, like, this is my area, or this is San Pedro, I live there, or like, oh, this is Long Beach, oh, Blue Line. Like, they connected to it, and I got to see that in person. And I think that really kind of like, inspired me more to like, okay, like, there are other people who connect to like, photos of like these neighborhoods, or like if I saw a picture of Wilmington, like like I'm buying it, or like I want it, or if it's on a shirt, like I will want to buy it or whatever. Like it just like has that meaning for you. So I wanted to also give that for other people, like a sense of like neighborhood pride and these other neighborhoods of Los Angeles that aren't just downtown LA skyline or just, so I think that's where I was like, okay, there's something here, like there, that I can
continue to dig into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like led me, doing like the Blue Line project, or just like more neighborhood-based like photography.
You dug into it deep, and you continued to make zine after zine.
Yeah.
And then started to travel.
Yeah.
And do like travel zines.
Exactly, yeah. And I always want to like make sure I word it that way, or make sure it's very clear when I make these like zines about other places that I travel to, that it's like I'm not trying to say anything or say that what I shot encapsulate what am I, what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, like
encapsulates.
I'm not trying to describe you.
This is all it is. This is exactly, and this is what I saw, and I always want to make it clear that this is a travel zine, and this is my perspective of what I saw, but it does not.
I'm not trying to define you
exactly, or define what that city is, because I don't live there. I always want to have that like respect for that, Yeah. So.
And I know that you took some trips with a friend who's also a writer, and
my friend Melissa. Yeah, we've gone. Our first trip together was to the Grand Canyon, and it was her idea. This was, I think, in 2018. I was unemployed, so I was free. So I was like, yeah, I want to go. And it was her idea. Like, she was going through a breakup and was like, I really want to go to the Grand Canyon. I've never been there, and I'm going through this, and I just want to go. If you want to come with me, I'm like, cool. Yeah, I'm not doing anything. So. We kind of made a couple stops, and we stopped in like Yuma. We went to around Flagstaff, Arizona, and then we went to Sedona.
So when you're gonna take off for a trip like that, do you like stock up on your film? Do you have
that one? I
shot list? Do you have, or just like randomly?
I just bring the film and just kind of flow. Just see what. And that's what was really great about my trips with her, is like, we kind of have somewhat of a guide of like, okay, where we're going, where we're going to stay. But there's no like, we have to do this. It's like very free. And that's what like the best travel buddies are like, when you can kind of just flow and be in the moment and explore. And like, we see something on the road and we're like, hey, let's pull over. And we do. And there's no like schedule. And it's just like completely like, it's totally like that chasing a butterfly kind of feeling where it's like, oh my God, like let's go in there. And then,
squirrel.
Yeah. We just like pop in anywhere, and like it's just, it's so fun. So.
And so since this and people have started to notice you and you're doing these zines.
Yeah.
Then you started to do gallery shows and exhibits.
Yeah, I've been kind of trying to slow down a little bit on those because.
Well, how did that start?
That's so Mario Ibarra Jr. gave me
Wilma's Wilma's in the
language,
house.
Gave me him and his wife Carla. I gotta credit her too.
Yes, of course.
They're amazing. They gave me my first solo show in I think it was called LAX Art or something like that. They were doing they had a little space within a bigger gallery space and that was in West Hollywood, and that was my first show. And at that time, also I met Guzmano Cesaretti, who found my. How did I meet him? Okay. Oh, I met him at a book signing that he was doing. So I just popped up and I gave him some zines, and then he was just connected with me and was like, "Cool, I would love to publish you." And I'm like, "Oh my God, yeah!" It was just
wow.
Yeah, and I did the same thing to Esteban. So it's hey, okay, if you live in LA, there's a lot of people doing really cool stuff. And if there's anybody that you want to meet and just connect with, it's the best to do it in person because you don't know what it's going to lead to.
You have to give yourself credit here.
I was super hungry, for sure.
It's not just that. Hold on for a second, because how many people do you think do that to them? A ton. Your work comes across so honest. It's so genuine that immediately, these people just see that and they want to work with you.
I'm super grateful, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it also makes a difference too when you're meeting somebody versus anybody can shoot out a ton of DMs or emails and stuff, and it just doesn't come across
again, give yourself.
No, thank you.
Because that's what I like about your work. That it in no way feels put on. It doesn't feel fake at all. Just this is some real shots.
Yeah.
And
because I also show the not what maybe people might not consider a great shot, but it is something to me, and I think that's what
some of it looks real.
I love when it's blurry, by the way.
Yeah. No, I know you have the dreamy everything. Your images look very dreamy.
Yeah.
And some of that is a blur. But everything feels like a beautiful image that could also be just a picture in somebody's wallet or in somebody's, home album.
Yeah.
It does have that very straight from home feel, vibe. But they're well edited, because that's something that I tell people that are shooting a lot and posting a lot. I'm like, don't post everything.
Yeah. You got to really limit.
Yeah, your stuff is very well edited, where I'm sure you had 25 pictures of one thing, and you just
pick the best one. Yeah.
That one that kind of shines through that that specific look that you're looking for, because they don't all come out exactly how you want them to, right? So
never.
Yeah, that editing process. Yeah.
A lot of wasted film.
Yeah.
But I don't regret any shot.
Yeah. Well, that's why I didn't start really shooting seriously until I got a digital camera, because I can shoot so much. Yeah. And my first pro digital, and that was when I went off like nuts. But yeah, I get to edit a lot. So you get to edit a lot. And so in that process, I think you defined your style.
Yeah. I mean, you should know this too from digital. It's okay, you kind of, it's practice, It's you kind of have to, yes, there is, for film, there's a limited number, and that does make you kind of think more, just be more thoughtful with your shots. But you kind of do have to keep going to to figure all that out and you have to shoot a lot. You just have to. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That dollar film, it was it was gold. I was like, oh my God, nobody cares. Okay, nobody was shooting film anymore, so it was just
perfect.
It was just throwaway.
No, you have to keep shooting, and edit.
Yeah.
Editing. Edit to find that voice, right? Yeah. Edit to find what it is that you feel. So
and picking your photos and everything. And that also comes from looking at a lot of photos.
Yeah.
I guess that's the same thing when they say writers should read a lot, and maybe that's why I didn't really succeed in that way, because it's I was not a reader at all.
You wanted to write, but you didn't want to read.
I didn't want to read. But so it's the same thing with photo. It's you kind of have to look at a lot of images to to be, versed in that too,
I have somebody that I like was looking at a lot when I started to take pictures, and that's Sebastião Salgado.
I love his work.
So in the beginning, a lot of my images had that really dark, really gritty, and like hard look, So I credit him with like initially like giving me like a direction.
Yeah.
Right? And then after, once you've found like that thing, then you can play around
then you
and
kind
shape it.
Exactly. Then you find your own, like, okay, well, how can I get influenced from this, but have my own voice. You have to.
It's one of the best things, I think, when people can look at an image and be like, oh, that's Valerie. I love that. It's so like obvious. Your look is specific, like dreamy and like the homemade feel. Like, what do you think led you to like chase that image, or what do you think pushed you in that direction?
I'm also a fan of like Japanese photography and like Daido Moriyama, and there's a 90s female photographer called Hero Mix, and I liked how free it felt.
The imperfect.
Yes, the imperfect. Shot. Like, I love that. I really, really gravitated toward that, instead of, traditional American photography is like perfectly like very, and I totally respect all of that.
Oh, they're great shots.
Incredible. But
yeah.
no. I can't do it.
So
I don't.
Weird, right?
I can't do that where it's like everything is exactly aligned and everything, the lines and the lighting, and it is a skill, like an immense skill that people master, and much respect to them. But I also for me I love that feeling, the feeling that maybe like a little bit of blur can give you, or like that imperfect, like you were saying, or like a little bit of motion, or just.
Sometimes I tend to like shoot without even looking.
Yeah.
Just so that I get something
I've done that for sure.
So that I get something that's more like without really like trying to make the composition perfect, right? So just like don't even look, just to get something different.
Yeah, you can kind of go crazy trying to perfect something, and sometimes it's like you just got to be free. And
so I did want to ask you this because looking at your music videos, and we're going to get into your music videos too, but like how difficult is it to looking at your early shots, like there's a lot of in the moment, you're just walking around, you're like, oh, look at that, and you'll snap some shots, right? It's like it's obvious that it's a young woman walking around and just like being blown away by whatever's around her and noticing things that you wanted to share. And then to like making a music video, I forgot the name of the song, but there's the one with it's black and white and you guys are all in the cars and all that. Like that's perfectly, beautifully shot.
Thank you.
And it's thought out, and people are, people are scheduled to be there at a certain time. People are made up at a certain time. There's a schedule of shots.
Yeah.
And so
timing.
How do you feel going from
I was so stressed out.
How do you feel going from like nothing to like this tremendous amount of like not just
scheduling and coordinating and like, I mean,
I can't function like that. It's so hard for me, but
the team that we had on that set, which was not really a set, it was really us just going around. But like, for sure, I couldn't do it by myself. And I had a camera operator who was like me and him went to high school together, a very good friend of mine.
Nice.
So I could, we were in tune with all that, so that really helped. And it was a lot of pre-planning, mainly all pre-planning. You gotta like, I'm now trying to figure out the song and what shots, and things kind of change as you're like shooting, because you gotta like, I think one scene that I wanted to do didn't end up happening, and we had to pivot, and that's all part of like, when you're doing video and stuff, you have to. Not everything goes the way you want it to, so it's like, okay, you gotta like learn to pivot. But I guess I knew what I wanted as far as the look and for the song, which was, Nate's brother, Zachy Force Funk, his project, Líneas, with Eddie Funkster. So I just wanted something that felt very like West Coast, but also from a female perspective, and nothing too story driven, because I already know like my limits, so I'm like, okay, I don't want to overshoot and like, be too ambitious. So I have to kind of like, okay, what's doable for me? So I'm like, okay, you know what? I just want to get like just really amazing shots that I think were cool, and just put it all together and kind of make it about the girls and just make it a cool vibe, and that's all I could hope for. And I think it came off. So that was one of my favorite
it's a great
ones.
video.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah.
That was a fun one.
And you have a few videos now, right?
I have a few. What else did I do?
Are you lining up videos like? Is that what your thing is now?
No.
You want to shoot more videos? Why not?
No, because it's a lot of work.
I wish I could shoot more videos. I shot a couple.
Right? I think it just depends on what it is, for who, and all that. To me, I look at all those as like, they're for friends, and they also are like passion projects. So it's kind of like what I want to do. But I don't think I would voluntarily put myself in. It's just.
I think we're similar in this way, where like, I don't want to take people's money and be responsible for like a movie shoot or like a video shoot, because
it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and I could do it for myself, or I could do it for friends, or I could do it where it's like documentary style, or where it's just me shooting. But it's difficult to like bill somebody $10,000 and then
exactly, and then I mean, I've done a few commercial shoots.
But we got to learn to do that.
You do have to, yes, you have to experience that. But definitely, I mean, shooting commercially for photo is completely different than now doing a video for someone. Because now
Have you done commercial photography?
A little bit. I did like a Moose Knuckles shoot, which is like it's like a Canadian brand for like, like puffer jackets.
Okay.
That was real easy. That was really cool. But and then I've just shot for like, like local brands like here and there throughout the years.
So how do you approach a commercial shot? Because I have the same difficulty sometimes. I mean, I want the jobs.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to like.
You just gotta really
walk through.
Yeah, you gotta
put that in a.
You really gotta be. You gotta really communicate with like whoever's hiring you, because I've assisted on commercial shoots, and it's like the brand could want one thing, tell you that, and then you shoot that, and then you show it to them, and they're like, this isn't really what we're looking for. And so I think I haven't done too many, but it's like it just never really felt like my world or my goal. Like I think now I'm okay with that. Like I just love to shoot for me and do my personal projects, and like I'm completely happy with that. Like it's just it's great experience, and it can be good money, but it's like, to me it's not worth it. I'll just be the artist. Like I'll just shoot my own stuff.
It's tough. It's because I like the money when it comes.
Yeah.
But
it just depends.
It's difficult to like. It's kind of like moving through Jalo when you're doing those.
Yeah.
When you're doing your own shoots, it's like you're floating.
Yeah, and you don't have like.
You're working beautifully.
Yeah, I've been like a PA on like bigger shoots. Like I was a PA on a I think it was for like Torrid, like the plus size clothing company, and I was holding like these just giant like.
Bounce lights.
Bounce things like to shade the sun, which is like insane, which sounds so crazy, but it's great experience. But it's like it just never felt like any world or anything that I wanted to do. I'm just not interested.
Well,
in
I hope
that.
you get more.
No.
Or the money.
It really just does depend.
I understand completely, because I say that.
It's got to be like something, that maybe I'd want to do, and like I don't know if you've seen like Esteban's campaign for that Byredo company. It's like a fragrance company.
I don't think so. Maybe.
It was completely. It felt exactly what he does, but for that brand.
Yeah.
You know, it was not a stretch, and it was so beautiful. So I mean, seeing him do something like that was like, okay, like maybe.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel sometimes. I'd like to just say, why don't you just pick a picture that I already have?
Exactly. Yeah, and
take one of these and
name on it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you don't have any other music video projects coming up right now? Because
actually, I do.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, because
there's one that we're working on for the homies Third World.
Okay.
They did a song with Nate called Apartment 304. It came out last year, but we're still working on like a video to kind of like, I don't know, just add visuals to the song, and that's been something that we've been working on, like with the pre-planning. That might be my last one for a minute, just because, you know, like I want to get back into photo and like making zines again and kind of focusing more on that. And doing videos can be very like time consuming, and it's a lot. So I kind of want to do that one and probably take a break for a while for sure. It's a lot.
So do you have plans to get back into photography, or are you just saying?
I guess I'm kind of like, we were just on the road this past month, and during that time I was getting a couple invites for like doing like a zine fest here or there, and there's like a art show and zine fest coming up at some bookstore in Long Beach called Page Against the Machine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is a funny name, which is a great name. I've never been there, but they're doing a show and they invited me to be part of that. So they'll give us like a wall space with like, and then we're supposed to make a zine for it. So it's kind of like a zine art show. And then another zine fest that I got invited to, again by LA Public Library. They're doing a zine fest at like Jefferson Park. I don't know where. I need to look it up. But that's coming up. So I'm kind of like, okay, like I like that because I've been invited to show at different events and galleries, but I'm trying to stop that for a while because until I have something I really want to show, I don't really care to also do that. I'm grateful for any like invitation always, but it's like it's a lot of work, and if I'm not ready, I don't, you know, it costs money to print work and to frame it and all that, and you know. Yeah,
sometimes you know, you're asked to put up 10 images, and let's say you put up 10, and maybe you sell one, and then you have
no, you're just
you didn't
left
even
with
break
like
even, and then
exactly. So it can be a lot. It's great when you wanted to show your work and
then they pile up, and you're like, but I don't want to show those again. So you want to show new stuff always, and it costs money again. So
I'm trying to really limit that until there's something like, you know what, this is some new work that I really want to show, and then hopefully there'll be somewhere I can show it. If not, you know, whatever. Yeah. It's like I'll show it online.
But the zine life is a lot of fun, and
it's so fun.
Yeah, and it enriches. It's very accessible too for like, you know, your fans to you know, come out and get some stuff.
And that also came about because I guess like, you know, coming from like early 2000s, which is like magazine time, you know, like, and it's like if you wanted to be a working photographer, it's like you had to get your work shown like and published, and like that was like a big thing to get your work published. So I think trying to figure that out and not really getting anywhere with that, it's like, you know what, I was inspired by Hamburger Eyes to like just make my own zine, and then I can have control over it and really show what I want to, and you know, kind of have like your own say in like what your work is.
Do you have what do we call it? Do you have like a protocol or a process that you do for every zine, or is it different every time?
I guess it's different every time. Now I feel like I'm taking a little bit longer to make zines because I'm trying to be more like really thoughtful of what I'm making. Oh, I brought you zines, by the way.
Oh, cool.
And I wanted to give it to you on air so that I could get your real reaction.
Oh,
I'm just
thanks.
kidding. The true reaction.
Well,
but,
awesome. The Hamburger Eyes ones. Yeah. Well, wait, this is, this is not Hamburger Eyes.
No.
I thought it was Hamburger Eyes.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, this is awesome, dude.
Thank you.
How do you print these?
So both of these were done by a printer called Smart Press.
Okay.
I make other zines that are made by...
Is this infrared?
No, it's actually, they're just all film, but I
you printed the negatives. Yeah.
Yeah, I inverted everything. That was kind of like my, like,
Got it.
quarantine pandemic zine. So I wanted everything for that one to be like, just like, you know, when the world got
Darker,
turned upside down, it was like dark and
oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Everything was just flipped. So that was like my
the upside
idea
down.
with that. Yeah, upside down world. But yeah, I used to make all my zines by hand at Kinko's and just printing it out. And then I realized how like time consuming that was. And I'm like, I love doing that, but it's like, and I actually do, I might want to get back to hand making zines, but.
This is so cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That one, I wanted it to be all like.
The size is perfect.
Yeah, I love that size too. Just like low riding at night, just all photos from that.
How did you get into lowriders in the scene?
My oldest brother, Ronnie, who also grew up in Wilmington with us, but he's Mexican and Filipino, and he grew up more on that side. So on his Mexican side, so he would come around and he would have like a Blazer or like, you know, Elko or like just different cars, and he's been in a car club for years and years, rollers only. So that.
So when he saw you with a camera, he was like.
Yeah, when I started shooting again, or maybe around like 2013, 14, I was starting to shoot again, and he invited me to. There was like a New Year's one in Irwindale where they do like a big, like a
at
majestic
the race place.
Yeah, like every New Year's Day they do like a big one in Irwindale. But he invited me to that, and I think kind of like connecting with him again and seeing all that, I wanted to kind of like shoot that, but in a different way, you know, like basically the way I try to describe it is like a lowrider's kid sister, which is like exactly me. And then like, that's the perspective that I always
the feminine perspective. Like, I mean, they do have a feminine touch, you know?
Yeah. I use like, you know, I'll try to put filters on it. I make it like, try to make it purposely softer because, you know, traditionally, like we see those photos is very masculine and very
sharp
like,
and crisp.
Sharp, crisp, the colors. And then I'm shooting low riding in black and white. So it's like, you're not seeing these like candy coat like colors. It's like you're actually, you know, I wanted to also step back so you could see the people, you know, because there is this like, not just the cars, but like just the community, you know?
It's all a big part of
so I definitely always wanted to like include, like, you know, if I'm taking a photo of a car, you know, I keep where all the people are on the sides because that is as much a part of it as the car itself. So
that's awesome.
That kind of got me into that, and then, you know, reintroduced me to the low riding world, and then I just started going on my own and really kind of going from there. But I haven't been to a car show in a while, and I'm really dying to get back out there because it's been a minute, and I want to go back out there and shoot.
Have they started again a lot? I mean, because I know the pandemic's.
I think so, yeah. They do a few in like Rosie's Dog Beach or whatever in Long Beach, and Wilmington always has like a cruise night every once in a while, so I want to kind of like focus back on like the harbor area, low riding. Yeah.
Bring
and then
home.
in San Pedro, yeah, exactly. San Pedro too is like a different scene too, because they have like, you know, like the different, not just like low riding, but like more like custom.
Oh, the hot rods.
Yeah, like up there they have like that kind of a scene up there too. So
like the rockabilly crew.
Yeah.
People, yeah.
And more of like the custom, like, I don't know how you call it, but it's like the everything's low and it's almost like yes, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where
it's like a big long bombers with the chopped.
And
like,
it's like the
roof.
windows are like that
It's
thin.
small, yeah. I don't know what they call those, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the only like name I can keep saying. It's like the custom. Yeah. Anybody can correct me on that one, but
That's dope. Is there anywhere where people can get these?
Yeah, so on my Instagram, I have a link to my big cartel.
Okay.
Next week on the 7th, April 7th, I'm going to be vending at, I think it's called the People's Market here in, I think it's in Boyle Heights, or they put Boyle Heights / El Sereno, so I'm not sure exactly where it is exactly, but I'll be vending some of my zines.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, hopefully I'll do more in the future because I want to get back out there too with like just making more zines, and like now with like Zine Fest coming up again and art book fairs, like I want to.
Do you do workshops?
No, I don't. I'm not really I'm not a good teacher. I'll try to help people, but yeah, I don't know if I could do a workshop.
I think that would be fun. Yeah.
Well, if anybody wants to do a workshop, yeah, or maybe you can help
definitely,
me.
Yeah. I mean, so that's another one of those things that's like very like calculated, and you have to show up at a certain time.
Yeah.
And since I'm very loose, I have done them, and you have to follow the rules. But once I start with the youth, it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like I'm always so nervous about it. Do I know enough? Am I going to teach enough?
That's probably part of it too.
Yeah, and you walk into
again.
It's tough to get past it, but then you show up, and the kids are amazing.
Yeah.
And you do want to share a lot, so
Yeah.
you just start sharing however you know how to share, and I just start sharing in my own way, and eventually when you're done and you're looking at the work that you created, you're like,
Yeah.
what?
I've done a couple like talks
So
for
cool.
like for classes, and not a workshop, but it's still trying to just like pass on what you know, or just share what you're doing or whatever. And it always is very like, because they're just staring at you, so I'm just like,
I know that feeling.
are you
high school
guys,
kids that you
and
can't
I'm
get
just
through?
like, it makes me so nervous because I'm like, are you there? Are you listening? Are you? But then after, it's like, oh my God, that was amazing. Or like, oh, I love it. And then they have questions. And then it's like, okay, cool. It's just in the moment. It just feels scary when they're just like, and then you know what it's like to be a teenage person. It's just like, you're just like.
Focus on the one that's listening, because there's always one kid that's listening. And I mean, what I do is I do try to like throw questions at the ones that aren't listening, but I don't know. You just want to share so much that in the end, like...
And they are listening. It's just,
they
it might
are,
feel
exactly.
like they're not, but it is. But
you don't know until they give you these thank you notes at the end. They're like,
Yeah.
thank you, teacher, for this and that. You're like, what?
yeah, it's awesome. Have you taught or anything?
I've done a few at Self-Help Graphics
Oh,
and
cool.
with another group at La Causa. And we actually printed some small books like this,
Oh, that's
too.
cool.
And in the end, you're blown away. You're
Yeah.
literally blown away by these kids every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very
That's
cool.
inspiring though, because I don't know. You just
I
think
did a what do you call that? The cyanotype workshop with Self-Help Graphics, and I had never done cyanotype.
I've never done that either. I've seen them. I see what like.
Yeah, so I did that,
It looks
not
fun.
even really knowing the process, but I did as much as I could research,
Yeah.
and I practiced a little bit, and then we did it, and then in the end we had an exhibit, and
That's
with
so
their
cool.
parents, and it was yeah. So I'm just trying to get you to go for it.
Yeah, I would love to do like I don't know. I mean, people also hit me up every once in a while. Oh, do you know like where someone can help me with a zine, or I guess depending on how I feel that day. Sometimes I try to like always help though. Like if I can't help you like that much, I'll at least like try to direct that person. I'm like, hey, I printed with this. I'll share my resources, or like hey, if you need help though, like reach out to me or whatever. But I always try to help people because I know that feeling of like wanting help or not knowing what you're doing. And I mean, I've kind of tried to figure everything out on my own by, so it's like I know what it's like to just feel like I don't know, you don't really have anybody to look to or ask or anything. So if somebody asks me, I always try to help as much as I can because
we're self-taught, but self-taught means that we reached out to a lot of friends.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of friends
it's a lot
helped
of
us get to where we're at. Yeah,
a lot of experimenting.
Shout out to the homies.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the end. Is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I don't think so.
I want to ask you a little bit more about like I guess your connection to the music industry now, and your partner. goes by Nate
No
Face, right?
Uh-huh.
He's back there kind of listening to us, I think.
He's probably on his phone.
But so with that, you don't think you're going to like shoot a lot more music stuff? And
well, one thing that I have been trying to do, I did it on this last tour that we just came back from, was like shooting photos of the fans, like especially like the female fans and like their style, and trying to kind of like document that a little bit. So that was kind of something that I started this past month, and because I would just shoot him all the time, and I can still do that, and I do.
Of course.
But also for me, you know, I want to have like some type of project for myself, and but it's so much fun, and then you know, getting to travel too, and I get to shoot photos and be with the person that I love, and like do this for like, you know, we consider our job. So
I like the idea of shooting the crowd. I did one of the early times that I was shooting an event here at Mariachi Plaza. I realized there was like 15 photographers, and I was like, you know, it was when like digital cameras really like got out, and everybody started shooting everywhere, and I was like, I want to shoot something different. So I turned the camera on the audience, and I did a whole little series called "A Face in the Crowd."
I love that.
And I was where everybody else was shooting the band, but I was my back to the band and shooting.
That's the best, because
the crowd.
The crowds too, especially at like music events, they have like the front rows too, of like any type of like concert or anything. Like they just have the best reactions, and like, you know, when people also like are stage diving or anything, it's like that's the photos I feel like are there. Like, of course, shoot the artist or whoever is performing, but like you said, like everybody's shooting that. So shoot what.
And the thing with the artist shoots for me too is like, I like to shoot. So when bands have like asked me to come out and shoot them, I'm like, I'll come out,
like,
but you got to
for live or
live shows. I'm like, I'll come out, but you got to give me backstage access, because I want to get those moments that the other people are not getting. Like that's where the gold is a lot of times, when they're just sitting down, you know, doing nothing.
Those moments, like I've shot a lot of Nate where like it's right before he's about to go on stage and he's like zoned out, and like, you know, like that's a moment, you know, like that's something to look at too, not just like on stage where
in the same way, like I tell my nephews, like when you have your camera and you're with your friends, shoot you, because nobody else is there right now. Like, shoot your shoes, shoot what you're wearing, shoot like your reactions, shoot whatever you can in your, because nobody else is going to get those shots. But well, I want to thank you so much for coming all the way here from Long Beach.
Fun.
We have a question that we ask everybody.
Oh, no.
At the end of each show. And it's a very vague question, so feel free to answer as vaguely as possible.
It sounds so scary right now.
It's not. It's not, but it is. No, I'm kidding.
I feel like I'm like about to go on a roller coaster.
No. So it's a simple question.
Okay. You're really hyping it up, though.
The challenge is to try to answer in one sentence.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So Valerie J. Bauer, how do you do it?
My initial reaction is do what? There it is.
No, I need an answer. That's how do you do it?
I wake up every day and I just do it. You just got to do it. You got to do it.
That's it.
You got to do it because you need to do it.
Yeah, see, that's great. You got to do it because you need to do it. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next week.